Armada Book 2 Chapter 12, The Datuins Part 2. Welcome back my friends. What can we do for you today? Manpat asked. Funny that you should ask, but there are a lot of things we would like you to do or promise to do. Andrew said. Oh? Manpat said. Sarudam walked to sit down beside Manpat. We would like to know if in case you can lord it over the Datuins, would you work for peace between your two species? Tonan asked. We cannot possibly lord over them. But yes, the last thing I want or my people want is war to continue. If we win over them, we will sue for peace but with justice of course. Manpat said. Justice means all the former Talanaut planets are returned and all the enslaved Talanauts in the Datuin planets come back home. Andrew said. Sarudam nodded. I guess those would be our basic demands. What else would you demand? Gantley asked. The pain that I feel is absolutely great. It would be a crowning glory for me as a king to forgive. But I probably will know what to demand when I am victorious. Manpat said. What if all the Talanauts with creatures attached are freed from the creatures? Andrew conjectured. That would ease the pain considerably. But you know Andrew, I will work for peace even when the pain is great. That is how we can move forward. Understand this however, that countless of my people will seek vengeance. I will not try to stop them and I will also not punish them for their acts of vengeance. Manpat said. Our problem is that you would have to send an occupying force in all the Datuin planets to get all the slaves out and return them home. Once all the slaves are out, you have to leave the Datuin planets and work for peace. Tonan said. You sound as if the war is already over. I find it really hard to be on the same plane of thinking as all of you are. Sarudam said. The most important thing to us is that you promise to work for peace and not exterminate the Datuins or occupy their planets. Andrew said. King Manpat is that kind of king but as he correctly points out the pain is unbelievable. Sarudam said. Would it be less painful if you take 10 of their planets as a reminder to them never to attack you again? Tonan asked. Sarudam explained, spoils usually ease the pain. But we do not care about occupying 10 planets or even 30 planets. At a certain level it may ease the pain. But that is not what we like. We want peace for our people and we want to prosper. My friend is correct. Spoils are not what we are after. Manpat said. Or we can give you a gift in exchange for the peace with the Datuins. Bhaskar said. If you can make all your dreams about this war come true, that would be the gift we would welcome. Manpat said. What Bhaskar means is that to help ease your pain because we believe you will work for peace but you will feel the pain as you work. So Bhaskar's gift would really just be intended to ease your pain. Andrew explained. What will you give us? Sarudam asked. We realized your society pays so much for energy. We would like to give you technology for a new energy source that will help you prosper. Our only demand is that you work for peace with your bad neighbor. Bhaskar said. You people are very strange. You come here and promise to rid us of our enemy and now you offer to give us a gift to make us work for peace with the enemies you rid us of in the first place. Manpat said. The universe is really a strange place with strange people like us. Andrew said. By the way, the Datuins are now mobilizing their forces and will be in formation in space by early tomorrow. 108,000 Talanaut-operated ships and 20,800 Datuin ships will be on their way here. Tonan said. Sarudam and Manpat were taken aback. How did you know? Sarudam asked. Spies in your kingdom warned your enemies that an alien group is helping you out and so they will most probably attack tomorrow. Bhaskar said. Spies? Who are the spies? Manpat asked. We have them in custody and are now interrogating them. We would rather not give them to you now but later after we deal with the Datuins. Bhaskar said. The 20,800 Datuin ships are twice as big as the suicide ships and we believe you can make good use for them. Where would you like us to bring these ships? We can bring them just outside the city if you like. Andrew said. That would be fine if you can do that. Manpat said. He is tired of showing disbelief at Andrew's group presumptuousness. This time he felt good playing along. We also intend to deliver to an uninhabited planet all the suicide ships with their occupants. We hope that the Datuin scientists working on the creatures will help us separate the creatures from their hosts. Tonan said. We also would imprison all the Datuin warriors in the same planet but on the other side. Bhaskar said. Then we will direct you to transfer all the Datuins out of the occupied planets back to Datuin planets and transport home all the enslaved Talanauts from the Datuin planets. Andrew said. Sarudam exclaimed, this is the third day that you are here. And you seem like you have the war at an end and talking about cleaning up and transferring back people to where they should be. We would like to work a few more days but your spies told your enemies about us and we are now forced to execute earlier than we intended. Gantley explained. You really are a strange group. But you give me hope, maybe. You show that you value peace and you value the lives of our enemies like you value the lives of the Talonauts. Manpat said. So the war will end tomorrow? Sarudam asked. It will take us the whole day today until the next day to end the war. Add another day to clean up. Then you can start with your transport operations. Andrew explained. How many of the enemy do you expect to kill? Sarudam asked. Maybe a few but hopefully none. Maybe a lot of accidental deaths. But we hope not. Gantley said. You can end this war without killing anybody? Sarudam asked in disbelief. The only people that may die would be the Emperor and his leaders, by your hands. Bhaskar said. We just want to make sure you keep your word to work for peace. Tonin said. It would be hard for us to imagine that you can do as you say, but if you can do as you say, I will promise to keep my word. Manpat said. That's all we want to know. We will leave now. Gantley said. Andrew turned as they were leaving. Oh, I almost forgot. When you see the Emperor and his leaders inside your palace, that is your sign that the war has ended. Just then one of Sarudam's assistant told him, Sir, the enemy is mobilizing their ships. They will be here in 6 days. Prepare all our ships. We will meet them halfway. Manpat commanded. Andrew turned to Manpat and, please do not mobilize your ships. We will tell you when and where to deploy. Make sure all your transports are ready to leave by tomorrow, complete with food and medical supplies. We would need all your medical and support teams to deploy by tomorrow. Bhaskar will keep you informed of our developments. When Andrew and his team got back from the king below, Ellie met them at Andrew's bridge. Sir, it would seem your dream may work. We found out from Manpat's researches that the octopi are sugar crazy, and when we put a live one in water with a high concentration of sugar, it relaxed and fell quiet like sleeping. The kind of sugar used by Manpat's people was apparently hard to come by in the Talanaut galaxy, so the research did not prosper. We need live subjects and Linda is getting some right now and beaming them to my ship. Ellie said. The suicide ships will be in orbit in 12 hours near the Datuin capital planet. The Datuins are also launching but are staying at the rear. Their Armada will be near the first Talanaut planet early tomorrow or in about 18 hours. Tonin said. Are we all prepared to engage tomorrow? We have to start once they are all in orbit near the outlying Talanaut planet. Andrew said. Tonin added, First, I will move the Emperor, the Royals and all the leadership and put them in time boxes 16 hours from now. We will locate them in the holding planet first, then move them to Manpat's palace once the drone attacks are over, maybe later in the day tomorrow. All the Datuins operating in the Datuin ships will also be beamed to the holding planet. Good, Tonin, you do that. Andrew said. We still have a few hours that we can use to tag the slaves, but all tagging will end in 10 hours. All our ships will engage in 16 hours. I will have to go now. Tonin said and disappeared. I would have to blow up the network an hour after Tonin gets the Emperor and the leaders. This will give them time to broadcast the abduction of their Emperor and leaders. I will go back to my ship now. Gantley said. Olive, as soon as we disable the suicide ships and separate the Datuins from their ship and bring them all down to the staging planet, launch all our drones and attack the predetermined targets. Then beam the empty Datuin ships to Manpat's planet just outside the city. Andrew said. Andrew, we have 820,000 drones and only 564,000 operators. The commanders will launch what they can operate. The quadrants have all been mapped and assigned to drone squads. That's fine, Olive. Just make sure none of our people are on the ground when the drones launch. Tell Bhaskar to beam over here. In a few minutes Bhaskar beamed in front of Andrew. I want you to act as our liaison with the king, especially to tell the king what to expect. Also tell him to prepare refugee assistance for the slaves that we will be beaming back to the Talanaut planets. The former capital planet would be the best to beam all the refugees. It has the infrastructure to handle the large population. I will tell the king to send food and medical supplies, medical and support personnel over there. My problem is that he seems too slow to deploy. Bhaskar said. Good call, Bhaskar. Olive, make sure all the ships understand this new direction we want to go through. Tell Tonin to allocate taggers to the former Talanaut capital and have him tag all the Datuins so we can remove them from the place. How many troops do you have in your 10 ships, Bhaskar? Andrew asked. Just under 15,000. Do you want me to deploy them to secure the city once our operations start? Yes, to secure the slave refugees we will be beaming in. I don't think Manpat will be there on time. Olive, tell all medical staff to prepare for deployment to the capital planet. Roger beams in with Eric and Boss. The drone targets have been identified and finalized. The Datuins' war capabilities will be put to an end. After this they will feel very poor for a very long time. I have been briefing and training the Talonauts we have in our ships to make sure they immediately react to the needy slave refugees that we will beam from the Datuin planets. Eric said. Good call, Eric, we were just talking about the slave refugees. We will be beaming them to the capital planet. So those Talonauts will come in handy there. Andrew said. Okay, let me coordinate them with our medical teams in all the ships. Eric said and disappeared. Roger, Bhaskar only has 15,000 troops to secure the capital planet for our slave refugees. I think we need more. How many can you spare? Andrew asked. Around 200,000 from all the ships. Some of them are manning the drones. As soon as the drones finish their operation, an additional 200,000 could be deployed. The only problem we have is that we may not have that much chameleon devices. Roger said. Good, I think that if we only have 200,000 devices that would be more than enough. If we are able to beam out all the Datuins, security will be less problematic. Deploy half in the outskirts and half within the areas of our medical and refugee processing centers. If the city fills up, we may need to use other outlying cities in the capital planet. Olive, beam in the refugees evenly and do not concentrate them in one area of the metropolis. Our medical support centers must also be dispersed within the refugee areas. Roger said. Olive, are you getting overloaded by the sheer magnitude of the operations? Andrew asked. Olive appeared. No, Andrew. All the beaming operations will be fast and on time. The power requirements for all the TPs are much less than what we have available even if we use them all at the same time. The TP support operators are very capable to handle the volume. The next day, Olive appeared beside Andrew. Andrew, our forces will execute engagement in 1 hour. Yes, tell them to go ahead. Ellie wants you in her ship. She wants to show you something. What something? She told me not to tell. Okay, let's go. Andrew was little annoyed that his ship does not want to tell. Andrew found Ellie's lab crowded with people, Linda, Gantley and some Inky scientists, Tonin and some Norset scientists, GX1, Bhaskar and several Marantais were there. What's up, Ellie? Andrew asked. Sir, your dream come true. Literally. Ellie said and pointed to a glass tank with a floating Talonot whose head was encased in a headgear with a tube running to a machine that provide air and life support. 2 octopi are at the bottom seemingly sleeping. It takes about 2 hours for the octopi to relax, sleep and release themselves from their host. We monitored their blood and the octopus protein decreased to very low levels in an hour. The host wakes up in 2 hours but we put him to sleep so his body can recover. We are delivering medicines and nanobots through the breathing device to do this. Ellie said. Ellie, you did it. Congratulations. Andrew said. It was really a team effort. The Norsets researched and devised this tank and its life support. Manpat's research provided the information on the octopus weakness. You provided to put the idea together. Linda, the Marinti scientists and all the others lent their time and effort to make this what it is. I just managed the team. Ellie said. Good, Olive tell Billy so he can do this on the moon as well. I already did, Andrew. Good, start with those zombies kept in the Emperor's palace. I believe 2 of those are Manpat's sons. Andrew said. Ellie nodded, right sir. We intend to make at least 100,000 of these using our Armada's formulators and beam them to the capital planet. Then we beam each of the zombies into the tanks where our Talonauts will attach the breathing device to their heads. There will be some sort of struggle but when the sleeping gas kicks in, the Talonaut calms down. At almost the same time, once the octopus senses the liquid, it starts to relax as well. The ship alarm sounded but not too loud. Andrew made sure of it. Olive announced, 5 minutes to engagement. Okay guys, let's roll. Andrew said. They all beamed back to their ships. Back in Andrew's bridge 4 dozen hologram monitors are up. Olive stood beside Andrew. All bombs have been deployed. The bombs will go off in 1 hour. Gantley's hologram appeared, then Tonin's hologram. We have started beaming the Emperor and leaderships out to the holding planet. We have also started to beam all the Datuin warriors in the ships to the holding planet. In a few minutes we will start beaming out the Datuins in the Talonot capital planet back to the designated outlying Datuin planet. Tonin said. Andrew could see from the probes on the holding planet that the Emperor and his warriors are all lumped up in one target beaming area. The broadcast have started through the network. Gantley said. Ellie and Roger holograms appeared. Sir, we are ready to beam the first 10,000 units to the capital planet. Ellie said. Good Ellie, wait for Roger then you start. Roger, wait for Tonin to finish before you beam the Marantais and our people to the capital planet. Make sure half of our forces are securing the perimeter of the cities. Andrew said and the 2 holos disappeared. The bombs in the ships are going off right now. When we start beaming the ships to the holding planet, it would take a lot of time. Half of our large TPs will be used solely for this in the next 8 hours. Olive said. Andrew watched as the holding planet was getting filled with Datuin warriors. He looked at the monitor for the capital planet. He noticed it looked deserted except for the Marinti slaves and zombies. After an hour, Gantley announced, "The networks are now blowing up." Andrew saw thousands of places light up on the hologram monitors showing different cities in different planets. Olive reported, "We are still transferring the slaves from the Datuin planets to the capital planet. Andrew, the main capital city is filling up fast. The outlying cities are starting to take in refugees." Roger's hologram appeared. "Sir, all our troops are out. Half are in the perimeter of the outlying cities, half are with our people processing the refugees. There are small firefights with Datuin stragglers in the city and in the outlying areas." Tonan's hologram appeared. "Andrew, all the Datuin warriors that we tagged are now in the holding planet. All the Datuins in the capital planet that we tagged were beamed out. Roger can expect some stragglers and firefights." He already had. "How long will it take to transfer all the Talonot refugee slaves from the Datuin planets?" Andrew asked. Tonan answered, "My ship estimates 3 hours 10 minutes. 600 of our large TPs are being used to TP the zombie ships, that is why it will take this long." Linda's hologram appeared. "Sir, we will start the Munoan show in 3 hours. Right now we are broadcasting our warnings and demands. We are telling them to release their slaves and bring them to the city center or the planet governor's palace." Gantley appeared as a holo. "Andrew, some of the planets would be empty of their slaves in a few minutes. We will start our drone operations on those planets once the bombs we placed in their cities have detonated." "Good coordination. Go ahead," Andrew said. After 4 hours, Ellie's hologram appeared from the capital planet. "Sir, we have freed the king's sons. They will be out of the tanks in a few minutes. There were some royal family members as well. I think Sarudam's family will be out in a few minutes as well. They need a few more hours to recover though." Baskar's hologram appeared before Andrew. "Andrew, I told Manpat that we have freed his 2 sons, and I also told Sarudam his family is fine." They could not believe it. "They are getting on their ships and will be flying to the capital planet. I told them to bring all their transport ships and their warships over to the capital planet. They will be there in 5 hours with food and medical supplies." He also brought all his medical personnel. "How did he find the Datuin ships in his backyard?" Andrew asked. "He could not figure out how we did it. I am not telling him though. I just told him to make sure he keeps his word. And he said he will." Baskar said. Linda's hologram appeared. "Sir, our troops have secured the slave holding areas in the Datuin planets. Slaves are slowly coming in and being tagged and beamed out. The Datuins seem to be able to follow orders pretty well. I see the slave holding areas have frozen Datuins around them as walls," Andrew said and pointed to the hologram screen. "Yes, we did that to make for more secure holding area." "Good Linda, carry on," Andrew said, and Linda's holo disappeared. "Olive, how are all our medic teams holding up?" "All the Talonauts from the Orphan Moon are helping them out, as well as all the Marinti troops. They are already overwhelmed and will be some more as the slave refugees are continuously being beamed in. Manpat will be there in 5 hours with his people." "How are our taggers, Olive?" Andrew asked. "The taggers are very tired. They only had 2 to 3 hours of rest from their last deployment. None have slept in the last 24 hours. Some are being deployed by Linda in the various Datuin cities. I guess Tonan pushed them too far. Now it's Linda's turn. But time was not on our side. I believe they understand this, Andrew." Tonan beamed into Andrew's bridge. "Andrew, we will be finished with our major operations within the hour. Linda will continue the cleanup of slaves while Gantley will continue the destruction of Datuin war infrastructure." Gadden beamed in front of Andrew. "Andrew, the taggers are pretty beat. I myself have been with them since we started our operations and I have instituted a mandatory rest period." "Good thinking, Gadden, you do that. Olive told me all of them have not slept for the last 24 hours. I guess you look so beat up also. I believe we would have to reveal ourselves to Manpat. Some of our troops and medic teams are not using the chameleon devices because we ran out of these devices already. I want to put more troops on the ground to help the medic teams and to help the troops in the Datuin cities for Linda," Tonan said. Andrew nodded at Tonan. "Okay. Let the troops rest for 3 hours then deploy them out." "Yes, Andrew, I agree. I believe we should beam the Emperor and his leaders to the old capital planet's main city, maybe in his old palace grounds," Tonan said. "Yes, I guess Manpat will want to get back to his former palace." "Good idea. But not now," Andrew said. "Andrew, the last of the zombie ships have beamed to the holding planet. We would start beaming out the Datuins that we have tagged from the Talonot planets to the outlying Datuin planet we have designated. Olive reported. Tonin, Gadon, we have not figured out how to separate the zombies from their ships. They could die in their ships if they do not open their doors to go out. Look, they are just sitting there. Andrew said and gestured to a hologram of the zombie ship area. We could blow out a hole. Tonin suggested. That could work. Olive, can you tell Eric to come over here please? Andrew said. No need Andrew for Eric to do it. I'll get right on it. I will use our troops to do this so the taggers can take a break. Okay, that's fine. Andrew said. Eric beamed in, what's up boss? Tonin and I were just thinking about blowing a hole in the zombie ships to make sure the gas inside are let out and to force the zombies inside to go out of their ships. But Tonin wants to do it so it's okay. Our taggers are beat. But they will go only if you tell them to. Eric said. I know that. Tonin will use the troops instead of the taggers. Andrew said. After more than 4 hours, Bhaskar beamed in front of Andrew. Andrew, the king and his ships will arrive within the hour. You may need to show them your true form. I noticed that some of the troops and medical personnel are not using the chameleon devices. So I think it's time. Olive, assemble the guys here in 1 hour. Andrew said. Linda was the first to beam in. Sir, we are almost finished. We would need the Talonots to take over in a few hours. We told the Datuins, their frozen relatives will not come back to them until all the slaves are out and we are assured none will build any items for war and conquests. Gantley beamed in and, Andrew, we are almost done with the drone operations. We only have 10 more planets to go. I think we would be done in 2 hours. Our drone operators are pretty tired and stressed out. Some Datuins went on to engage the drones using sub-orbit ships and we blew them all away. Ellie, Eric, Gadon, and Roger beamed in almost at the same time. Sir, we have freed more than 30,000 zombies. We have deployed more than 80,000 tanks and they are all in use right now. The Norsets are constructing 40,000 more tanks and they will be done in 10 hours. Ellie said. That's good Ellie. Make sure our Talonots know how to use them. Andrew said. Bhaskar beamed in. Okay guys, the king has arrived at the planet and will be docking in his old palace in a few minutes. He wanted to fly around the cities to see how things are doing. Tell Manpat to put his troops on the ground and to replace our troops on the ground. Andrew said. I told them already Andrew. They are kind of slow to deploy so we should just wait. Their supplies ships are on the ground and their medical personnel are moving to our refugee centers. Good, our teams on the ground need to be replaced. Andrew said. I will ready the Emperor and his leaders and beam them at the palace grounds on your word Andrew. Tonin said. Olive reported, Manpat has met up with his 2 sons and Sarudam is now with his family. They will be in the palace in a few minutes. Let's go down to the palace and talk to the guys. Andrew said. They all beamed to the main throne room of the palace. They all appeared as Marantais. This is a neat place. It looks so large. Eric said. We can beam the Emperor and his leaders inside this hall with plenty of room to spare. Tonin said looking at the hall. This is a neat chair. Roger said and walked over and sat on the king's chair. The Emperor's palace is bigger than this. Linda commented. The main door opens and Manpat, Sarudam, Samultaman, several Talonots officials with some Talonot troops and the king's 2 sons enters the hall. Hi Manpat, this palace is really huge. Andrew greeted. Manpat approached Andrew's group and on his signal all those in his group kneeled in front of Andrew and his group. Manpat, why are you kneeling? Bhaskar asked surprised. We thought you were crazy and we laughed at you. We apologize. Henceforth, we will honor you as we honor all our ancestors and their ancestors before them. Andrew walked, please, I hope you will never kneel to anybody again. Please. Andrew held Manpat's arms and pulled him up. Samultaman approached Ellie and said, thank you for freeing our people from the creatures. Ellie answered, it was a team effort, we all worked on it. Yes, but you lead the teams of different species who did it. Samultaman argued. I apologize, he sometimes sees things we don't and believes them as true. Sarudam said. I told you and Manpat about these aliens who will save our people and you did not believe me. I told you all the creatures will leave their Talonot hosts and you did not believe me. I told you all the slaves will be freed and you did not believe me. I told you we will walk in this palace to meet them and you did not believe me. All I told you came through. Samultaman exclaimed. I apologize Samultaman, but you also said they are different alien people. They look like Marantais and Talonots to me. Manpat said. Not exactly. Andrew said and changed to his human for as did the others. The king was taken by surprise. It does not matter whether they are aliens or not, I have my 2 sons, I am here in my palace and my people are free. Thank you Manpat. Andrew said. Bhaskar reintroduced the group. This is our leader Andrew, a human from a planet called Earth. This is Gantley, an Inky and first marshal of the Inky Field Armada. This is Tonin, a Norset and the head of the Norset Space Armada. This is Ellie, Eric, Roger, and Linda, all humans and part of Andrew's team, and this is Gadon, a Maquis and part of Andrew's team. As we promised, the Datuin Emperor and his leaders. He made a gesture and half the hall was filled with frozen Datuins with the Emperor at the forefront of the frozen group. Tonin announced. Sarudam went on to attack the Emperor, but he was frozen in time. His assistants pulled him off. They are frozen in time. Tonin said. Manpat exclaimed, release them to us so we can bring them to justice. No Manpat, they will stay like this for a few years to remind you and every other leader that you must not oppress and enslave people, even if they are aliens. Besides, we hold you to your word to work for peace, and this will remind you to do so. After that, the time freeze will stop and you can render Talonot justice on these people. Andrew said. I apologize, Andrew, I will do as I promised. Manpat said calmly. In all the Datuin planets we have frozen their leaders and children to force them to release all their slaves. We need you to replace our troops on the ground and make sure all the slaves are returned using your transport ships. Tonin said and looked at Linda. Linda announced, I would need 200,000 troops to replace our troops. Sarudam, please tell them to assemble at the palace grounds. Divide them in groups of 100. Sarudam nodded at his assistants and the assistants ran out. Olive, beam down some taggers to tag the troops so we can beam them to the slave centrals. What about Datuin defenses and ships? Manpat asked. Gantley was quick to explain, all Datuin's ships are in your backyard, we dumped all their warriors in a planet. All the Datuin planets have no defenses. We have destroyed all their war infrastructure and military capabilities in all the planets. We have destroyed all their shipbuilding and repair facilities. We just need you to take over our troops and process all the slaves to get them back home. We also promise to give you a new source of energy. I will have our scientists talk to your scientists to have you learn the new technology. This will help you recover. Bhaskar said. We have trained our Talonauts, the ones we saved from an errant moon, to operate the water tanks to separate the creatures from their hosts. We have deployed 80,000 of these and we will add 40,000 more by tomorrow. You will be able to free all those carrying the creatures in a few weeks. Ellie said. Eric added, there are also around 2 million infected that we dumped in our staging planet that you need to free from the creatures. You just arrived in less than a week and now the war is over. How did you do this? Manpat asked. It's a long story, but we do this all the time. Andrew said. Bhaskar quipped, there is also the issue of your traitors. I know who they are. Simultaman shouted excitedly. Who? Manpat asked. Olive, please beam the spies here, please. Roger said. Who's Olive? Manpat asked. The traitors appeared in front of the king. He was surprised to see his third brother. I was going to say your third brother. But since they are here. Simultaman said and approached Manpat's brother, who was shackled as the rest of the spies. He slapped his face hard. Manpat felt his knees weaken and he fell on his knees. Sarudam was quick to hold him up. Brother, why? Almost whispering. He paused. He looked at Andrew, freeze them here as well. Manpat told Andrew. Olive, please. Andrew said. They saw the spies disappear and reappear inside the time box, frozen as the Datuins are still. Manpat explained, they will be a reminder as well to our people. Thank you, Andrew. He tried to compose himself. After a while, your group does not seem so strange at all, Andrew. You continue to teach us back things we forgot from times long past. Now I feel strange I forgot those things from times long past. You're welcome, Manpat.